Okay, this is section 2, and we are continuing our discussion with regulation and control. We finished looking at the different aspects of the key laws that were passed beginning in the early 1900s till now, the relationship of controlling health and regulating the pharmacy and prescription and over-the-counter drugs. Again, this is very, very important. We have been talking about this since basically chapter 1. And so here we're talking about the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, or HIPAA, as it is known. That was passed in 1996. This defines the scope of patient information that may or may not be shared among healthcare providers without the patient's consent. All covered entities are required to be compliant with HIPAA regulation. And when we talk about covered entities, we are talking about any provider using electronic communication methods, but also HIPAA covers oral and paper communications. So it requires the health professional, health provider, to provide privacy and security for PHI, which is particular health information, to inform patients of their privacy policies and procedures, and to allow the patient to review or correct any records. And we're talking about their own personal medical records. So this is, in essence, a confidentiality act in relationship to the patient's healthcare information. So remember this, you'll definitely see this on a quiz, exam, and of course, most likely in the licensure, pharmacy technician licensure exam. Okay, so as you walk into the pharmacy, you see the over the counters, and then you go to an area that's usually cordoned off. And behind that particular counter, you have many controlled substances. And so, how does a particular drug go to that particular process to be in that particular location? So, on the drugs, whether domestically made or imported, must be approved by the Federal Drug Administration before they can be marketed within the United States. And so, in order for it to be marketed within the United States, it must show to be both safe and effective. So, there may be a product that may be safe but not effective, or effective and not safe, and that its benefits significantly or substantially outweigh its risk. And this is done via a process called clinical trials, which is done on people, and individuals that are involved in clinical trials are have given their assent to be there. So there's certain key definitions that you should be familiar with. Um, uh, Here, pediatrics, this is having to do with children, and the clinical trials regimen for children in comparison to adults, there are some slight difference. And also, you should be familiar with um, the word placebo. Placebo is usually given in a double-blind test. These are the tests that are usually done within the clinical trials. That means that the patients and the provider, most likely a physician or nurse practitioner, do not know what type of medicine the person is getting. And so that eliminates much of the bias that uh, could occur if the patient knew what they were taking, or if the um, provider, the persons involved in clinical trials, knew what they were given. They will have certain expectations. And then the testing of children is unique from the testing of adults, since they cannot really give consent. That is usually done by the guardian. So there are additional rules. So for the most part, children are not included in trials until the drug has been fully tested in adults. And drugs that have not been tested on children generally states on the label that their safety and effectiveness have not been established for children. Some drugs, however, may carry label information for pediatric use that is based on studies of adults and other pediatric treatment information. And so there was a law that governs how drugs are given to children. So let's look at the new drug approval. This is a very long process for a new drug to get approved. Usually 7 to 15 years, can cost hundreds of $millions. They say the average new drug now is between $500 to $1 billion, and depending on the sophistication of the other drug, the cost could be even more than that. And so the purpose of the longevity of those particular trials is to ensure the safety of the patient and that the medicine does what it says it's supposed to do. So usually laboratory testing is done, and these are called in vitro testing. And many of the new drugs come from many of the new drugs are designed on the computer first, and then it moves into in vitro trials, and then it goes into animal tests, and those are called in vivo trials. And then after all the data is collection, after we have a meeting with the FDA, and you file what is called a IND. An IND is a investigable new drug. So this is a new drug that could possibly go into clinical trial. And so if the FDA look over all of this data and says that everything is fine, it then goes into phase 1. Phase 1 is usually a small study between 20 to 100 individuals, and it lasts several months or less than a year in most cases, and you're looking for safety. Is the drug safe? Many drugs pass through phase 1. Phase 2 can be between 100 to 400 individuals and can last up to 2 years. And so not only are you looking at its safety in a larger population, but also does it do what it says it's supposed to do, or its effectiveness. And then some drugs may pass through there. And then finally, there's phase 3. Phase 3 can be between 1,000 to 4,000, can last 1 to 4 years. And again, continually trying to evaluate safety, determine dosage and effectiveness, but also to compare it to the standard treatment. Is it significant over what is already out there? So if it is, then it can move into the next stage. And that particular pharmaceutical or biotechnology company will file what is called an NDA, or new drug application. And that is again evaluated by the FDA, and if approved, then that particular drugs will be allowed to be on the market. So during the trial phase, a proposed new drug is called an investigable new drug, or IND. Tests are controlled by comparing the effect of a proposed drug on one group of patients with the effect of a different treatment on other patients. And then, as I mentioned to you a little bit earlier, the trials are basically always double blind. That means that no one really knows whether the placebo, and we define a placebo, or the new drug is being given. So the provider can give either placebo or new drug to the person, and then that is evaluated. You probably heard of what's called a placebo effect. Just because an individual thinks that they're taking some type of medicine that can help you can be healing in of itself. And so that must be taken into account. So once a drug has passed through that particular those trials, going from preclinical to clinical and now to market, there's a few things that is helpful to the manufacturer. They may have a patent. Patent usually lasts 20 years. And after that, as we mentioned, generics can be made of the same drug. And this is done, and it's actually part of the U.S. Constitution, to give the manufacturer or the inventor the opportunity to recoup their expenditures to get the product to a market. So it's the incentive of exclusivity that has been given. So exclusive right to market the drug for a specific period of time under a brand name. Once the brand name have expired, usually after 20 years, it means other manufacturers may copy the drug and release it under a generic name. And then, as you look at this particular picture over here, you have over-the-counter drugs. That their particular path to marketing is different than the controlled drugs. Okay. Let's look at labels and product labeling. This is something that is very, very important. Over the counter. Basically, you have what's called PPI, and you have seen this in many places within the prescription bag that in which the medicine is given to the consumer. So not only do you have the labeling that's on the container in which the medicine is placed into, you also have an additional insert. And this insert is called the patient package insert, or PPI. So a package insert is a document provided along with the prescription or over-the-counter medication to provide additional information about the drug, and it's very, very helpful. Another thing that you also can see is what they call medication guides. So medication guides are paper handouts that come with many prescription medicine. The guides address issues that are specific to a particular drug or drug classes, and they contain FDA-approved information that can help the patient and avoid serious adverse event. Okay, so PPI medication guides are part of the labeling and the labels and product labeling regime that is used to protect the customer. Okay, so what are some of the things that you find on a product label? Well, of course, the name of the product. You have to know who made this. You may find the name and address of the manufacturer or distributor. What are the ingredients that's found within this particular medicine? What are not only the ingredients, but the amount of each ingredient? You can find that in relationship to grams and that particular type of nomenclature, or also in the form of percentage of the entire medication in general. And then, of course, for the purpose of having all this information, if you don't know how to use the product, therefore there must be adequate directions for use. Do I take this medicine twice a day, 3 times a day? Take it with food, without food, drink, without drink? Do I need to avoid other medication or give a particular period of time before I take that medication in comparison to mine? So there's many things that can be found within the directions. So here we're looking at a particular label. I'm going to spend a few moments taking a look at it. So this is CVS Children Pain Relief Suspension Liquid. It contains acetaminophen, which is used as a fever reducer and pain reliever. And it tells a little bit more about the medication. But I want you to look at the drug fact.